Brilliant. Hi, everyone. I see we're being joined by all of our panel now. So we're being joined by Chris, Emma, Barry and Shay, Steve, and Dr. Paul Bedford as well. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to just intro the topic for today's chat, and then I'll move on to letting you guys introduce yourselves. So to kick it off, today's chat right now is all about the new normal for member experience. So we're going to get feedback, insights, and all the information we need from the experts on today's panel to figure out how they're doing it post COVID-19 and what you can start to implement in your studio to get this kind of success as well. Brilliant. So everyone should see everyone else now on the screen. Here we have, so I'll pass it over to Chris first. Chris, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourself, your business, and maybe where you're coming from today. You're just on mute.
Got it. Yeah, it works better if you unmute yourself, just for the other panelists. Chris Stevenson, Los Angeles, California. Been in the industry over 20 plus years. Started as a technician, personal training, group exercise. And then kind of worked my way through every position to becoming an owner and operator for about 17 years. Right now I run Stevenson Consulting. So we help, entrepreneurs and businesses of all shapes and sizes with all areas in the fitness business. And we also are launching a company called Be Military Fit in California, which I know is big in the UK. So that's our current project that should launch within a month or so.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Chris. Definitely great to get your insights on this topic here today. Next, over to you, Emma.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to give a couple of shout outs, actually. I'm thrilled to see some people in the who've joined us, Ancy Averill, Kate, Will, Brett, and Matt, Dan, and F45. So fantastic to have you guys on from all over the world. So Emma Barry, also from California, and I spend a full-time job just basically being on panels with Chris. That's my whole reason for living right now. Global Fitness Authority just managed to squeeze this book out just before COVID hit. So author of Building a Badass Boutique, and Eamon and Kevin, happy to gift one of those. Sorry I didn't get back to you sooner. Been on a few conferences. So I consult to the innovative edge of fitness. So that's boutiques to budgets and fit tech startups. Some of those are doing better than others in these times, but we're all going to come through strong. So really happy to share some thoughts with you guys.
Brilliant. Great to have you with us, Emma. Thank you. Next, we're going to go over to Barry and Shay from the Fitness Career Mastery.
Hi, good morning, good evening.
Good morning.
You or me?
Go for it.
We are international master trainers and boutique fitness consultants. We host a podcast called Fitness Career Mastery, and we also have consulting services, one-on-one coaching services for independent trainers and fitness entrepreneurs, and online courses available. We just launched a course called Learn to Livestream, and over the past 5 or 6 months now, we've been helping boutique fitness studios pivot during this time and launch their online platforms.
One moment. Great. Sorry about that. There's a lot of noise going on from all different sides here today. Next, I'm going to go over to you, Paul.
Okay, so Paul Bedford, based here in the UK. Been in the industry nearly 30 years now, and I, similar to Chris, started off as a instructor, personal trainer, ended up running clubs and managing clubs. Spent 14 years training people to be personal trainers before heading off into academia to study behavioural psychology, and I now spend all of my time on Zoom calls, working with some of the biggest operators on the planet, particularly around behavioural change, how they keep their customers for longer, and improving their customer experience. And it's been an interesting day already. I started the day in Tel Aviv. I've been on a call with Russians via New York, and now I'm globally here. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Covering a lot of bases there, Paul. Thanks so much for joining us here today. And then finally, over to you, Steve.
Hey everybody, thanks for the opportunity. My name is Steve Pirt. I'm the CEO of Friction Free Fitness Incorporated. We're a globally fitness-focused firm that is really driving the build of what we call ecosystems, taking together innovative technology, just like Paul, we're working right now in Israel. Japan is one of our main markets, and of course here in the United States, soon to be Brazil. Technology operations and design concept, and taking the three and enabling operators and fitness professionals to enhance their capabilities in different ways. I've been in the industry well over 20 years, working for 5 of the largest operators in the United States, most recently culminating in being the National Director of Operations and Technology for UFC Gym. So it's been a fun journey, and I think we're in not our new normal, I think we're in our new evolution when it comes to the fitness here post-COVID, and we're excited to see what we're about to achieve.
Brilliant. Thanks, Steve. And indeed, thanks to all of our panel for joining us here today. I don't think anyone can argue with the fact that we have a really, really stellar panel. And I think there's going to be a lot of questions coming in to pick your brains on this. So we'll make sure to make some time for questions and answers at the end. Just relating to housekeeping and some exciting news with giveaways that we're going to be giving out. So we will be giving out from the Fitness Career Mastery. Barry and Shay are offering a free 1-hour consult. So we'll be giving that out to one of the best questions from this session. And then also, as Emma touched on as well, we'll also be giving away Emma's new book, So Building a Badass Boutique, to another great question we get in. So get your questions in now and get your chance of getting either the book or the consult. So without further ado, let's kick it off. So the new normal, I know we touched on it here, and Steve, you were talking about it's like this new evolution. I guess everything has changed over the past couple of months. So member experience in the midst of the environment and everything else that has changed, have the characteristics of what makes a good member experience, have they actually changed? And I'm going to go to you first, Chris.
I mean, obviously, we know that following the guidelines with social distancing and cleaning standards are all going to be elevated. And I think we've always said that clean gyms were important. Whether or not gyms actually followed through and keeping theirs clean is debatable. I mean, some did a great job, some didn't. So that will definitely be an amplified part of the customer experience. But I do think just the way things are trending in general, COVID or non-COVID related, it's personalization. And I think that's the key. We're in an environment where more trust is necessary. So I think finding ways to personalize the experience so that every member, that they don't feel like a number and just one of many members, they feel like they are singularly important as a member. So that's everything from, you yourself as a leader, and then also heavily engaging your staff in training, best practices like, warm welcomes, fond farewells, consistent engagement with members on the floor, owning questions, building strong relationships through social media, but just that real true engagement and building real relationships. And again, getting your staff out from simply, standing and hiding behind a desk or an office and having them on the floor, and being proactive, not reactive. How can I help you? Is there anything you need? Is there anything we can be doing better right now? When people leave, and I actually learned this from Paul Bedford, who's one of my mentors, when somebody leaves your facility, we always talk about, asking them the question, when will you be back? Or when will we see you again? And Paul had mentioned one time, you also say, how was your experience today? So it's proactively seeking out feedback. There's a presentation I do often called Stop Guessing and Start Asking What Your Members Want. And it's about really going out proactively, surveying, net promoter score, things like that to gather data, but then also things like I just mentioned that Paul taught me, as far as just simply being on the floor. How's your experience right now? What can we do better? So, the more we can build a real relationship with our customer, that increases their confidence, it builds trust and builds a real relationship. So that's what I think is going to be the most important thing.
Okay, so I guess the keywords I'm getting from you there, Chris, are like personalization and having that personable relationship with your members and ensuring that your staff can have that relationship as well. I'm going to go to you, Emma, next. From what Chris has said, do you have similar perspectives on this?
Great, thanks. So obviously great points. I think the other thing I'd throw in there now is no one really knows what's going on. So I think a good dose of transparency is really good as well. People have tried to hide the fact that they don't know what they're doing and things like that. I think there's definitely something in that. We're in this journey with.
Cool.
I think Emma may have just...
Oh, no.
I thought that was just on my end.
Karen, Emma's still on the list here, so she might just have lost audio.
Okay.
We all just freeze to help her.
Yeah.
I think she moved her microphone because she was on fire. She was doing it.
Emma, come back.
maybe for now we pop on to the next, and then we'll come back to Emma when she's back with us, which I think might be it. Emma, you're back.
I'm so sorry, guys. We're a little bit dodgy here in the South Bay in California. I compete with all the schools. So yeah, transparency and also hyper-personalisation. So, and I love the point that Chris made earlier around surveys. So in many of the clients I work with, they ask their members a bunch of things, and sometimes they came back with delightful answers that really weren't what you were thinking. So sometimes people are actually evolving in a different way and you don't know. Different things matter to them. So keep asking. People love to see themselves in the solution, and they love to think that they had a part to play in where the company is going. So treat people, everyone today has got to be an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur. They're either guiding the business from within as one of its constituents, or they're actually leading the ship. And either way, you should feel like you're a part of the future. And that's one of my big messages, is all around feeling. I need to feel like I belong here. I like to feel like I matter. I want to be with you because I just feel so damn good. That's the piece of behavioural change that we need, because me motivating and joining a gym, that's when I'm the most motivated, and then it's all downhill, and that's why we see this attrition. So we've got to keep that motivation. I've got to want to be here and not even explain why. So it's this feeling. I'm just all about that. Thank you.
Great. And with collecting this feedback, so obviously you can do it in person and then through surveys. And how often or how regularly, is there a certain point in a member's journey that you'd want to get that survey out, or is it at any stage? Yeah, Paul, I think you might have.
I was just going to say, I'm advising my clients to do it while they're at the facility. You don't want to do it retrospectively when, 2 weeks or 3 weeks after, and go, what was your visit like? Because then they're relying on memory, and they're going to fill in and smooth out information. You want to be asking them while they're there as much as possible. And as Chris alluded to, we've always prompted this: how was your workout today, as they're leaving? So you can get that feedback straight away. And if it was a good workout, they get to talk positively about the business as they're leaving. And if it wasn't a good workout, or they had issues, you get a chance to say, look, we're going to deal with that and rectify it. And that still makes them feel good before they've even left the building. So I think traditionally surveys have been done like, hit a cross or a tick about your experience today, and that's collected once every 3 months. Well, that's rubbish. Mm-hmm. You want to be surveying, you want to be doing what I describe it as in time surveying. Survey them while they're doing the activity. How do you feel now about the class you've just done? You don't wait, you do it now. But then there are other types of surveys, though, because there are surveys that go, what's been your overall experience in the last 4 weeks, or your overall experience since joining? So you can also survey elements of the customer journey, not just at that point in time. You need to build up a full picture.
Yeah, and I like what you said there, Paul and Emma, like with that sense of, checking on someone, and Chris as well, when they're leaving, and that they have the opportunity to share, like, oh yeah, I nailed that session, that ego boost. They're going to connect that positive feeling with that experience at the gym and overall enhance their experience.
Yeah.
And I might go to you, Chris, and then we'll go to the fitness career mastery, and then we'll go back to you, Chris. So Steve.
We're not talking to you, Steve.
Yeah, that's good. I'm just going to stay here with a big smile. What we're talking about here is data, right? And, Paul, that's your lane. That's certainly our lane. And data is useless without being able to collect it in a meaningful way, organize it, and then concisely provide that awareness to the right fitness professional. Here, I'm sure we all hear this whole sham about, 4 walls versus technology. Like it's a zero-sum game now all of a sudden, where this is just like supplementation. It's an addition to, it's another choice, it's another tool, another lever that we're able to pull as fitness professionals to enhance human capacity. And the greatest way that we can enhance human capacity is through awareness. So surveys are one tool. I mean, I remember back at 24 Hour, we used JD Power, right? And that was, that was 15, 17, 18 years ago. But I could tell as an operator how many sneezes per person came in, per month. It was a drown of data that you didn't really have access to. So my point being is having that information is one key, but making sure that you can collect it and provide it in a meaningful way that enables us to take action. Without the action, it's just another spreadsheet that sits on the table and is useless.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that, Steve. And I guess like we're in the age of technology now as well, where especially with online classes and everything like that, you do have that data there available to use, and it's up to you to choose how you use it as well. And then to you guys, Shay and Barry, how about you for creating that member experience?
Yeah, of course.
What are your best practices?
Yeah, so I love Chris and Emma's thoughts on transparency, and establishing a culture of trust is really, really important. And as things are changing, especially now, like we're learning new things, and the rules and regulations are different in every single state, city, country. So we have to remember, like at the core, the thing that really makes your business stand out is your product, and your product is your programming, and the delivery system of that product is your instructors. So you really want to make sure that you're investing in new cutting edge, smart, safe, fun programming that people want to keep coming back to over and over again, that they're getting results, and also that it's being delivered by a passionate, intelligent, engaging instructors. So investing in their education and their growth is going to be really important, especially when you're not just competing with the studio down the street anymore. You now have to compete with the Netflix library of workouts online, and that really comes down to to really investing in your own business and not worrying so much about what everybody else is doing, and going back to serving your clients. Your client is your boss. So you just want to make sure that you are serving them and that you're delivering exactly what they want and not what you think they want.
Okay, great points there. Yes, Steve.
On that, it's good. I think as operators, all of us have multiple years. That was an amazing point, but I think we've all come to a time in our experience where our customers don't know what they want. And so sometimes it's us being able to present such a clear, I believe purpose is the answer to this number one question, having purpose to fitness. Whether it's tying individuals into a community where they fit in, they can be themselves, that we're talking about, that's enhanced by coaches and culture and connection, which a lot of great brands have really tied into, whether all of those pieces or just a single. I think that's the greatest success of boutique and studios. They really have been able to enhance that, not just by size and proximity, but I think they've really tied in a deep understanding of their why, and then clearly conveying to their audience, both their fitness professionals that are the delivery system and the influencers of it, but also their customers who are making these choices of why here versus there. I think it's really tying in purpose and moving forward, tying purpose into fitness and individuals having purpose in their fitness versus just opening up a door and providing access and maybe a fun, clean class is really going to be the differentiator, not only for thriving, but that retainment piece as well.
Okay, yeah, really interesting point. So knowing your why and being sure of your brand and yourself and your offering, and in that way you're going to be sure of who your members are and how to speak with them.
And making sure that everyone else knows about it. It's not just a hidden secret that you and your team have, right?
Yeah, brilliant.
Take care.
And then I guess when you are looking at gyms and studios as a whole, obviously the boutique concept is quite new to the scene. So with how gyms and studios are run, what would you say are the things that traditional gyms and studios are doing really well, and what are those elements that are there that they may need to improve on? So say when we're looking at boutique fitness, we're seeing obviously like member experience and engagement. I don't know, Chris, for you, what do you see gyms and studios doing well and not so well?
Well, I think it's all over the place. Just when you talk COVID related, there were a couple clubs in the area where I live who are doing a great job. They're doing the social distancing, everything's mapped out, great signage, making all these great adaptations to do it right. And then I had a friend go to another club down the street and I go, oh, how was it once it opened? He's like, Wild West. There are people sweating at each other, no masks, everybody's on top of each other. He's like, I think they unplugged every other treadmill was their big statement. So unfortunately, there's not a level of consistency. And I do believe that hurts our industry. And, and here's, I think sometimes we, especially the panelists and people on this webinar, we live in sort of a small world that we assume is the entire world, because everybody on this is doing things right. Everybody that's listening is like, how can I do things better and improve? but we just forget there's a lot of sort of operators who don't attend these things and don't learn. And so I think that doesn't really answer your question, but I think that's something important to realize. But like I said, COVID related, the good operators are following the guidelines. They're, whether it's social distancing, it's cleaning, they're out there. I think one thing that's really important is I always say treat it like a restaurant. So where normally you'd spend more time in the office or working on task-oriented stuff, right now, especially know your peak times when it's the busiest, and you as a leader out on the floor, simply doing all the stuff that everybody on the panel's talked about so far as engagement goes. So I think that the good clubs are communicating really, really well. They're being transparent, as Emma said before. They're building those levels of trust. They're asking for feedback on a regular basis. All those best practices that we talked about already, they're actually doing them. One thing I was thinking as Steve was talking, some really brilliant stuff. I wrote an article a while back called Feel versus Real. And
Nice.
People often base decisions on feel. And that's often a terrible way to base a decision. Real is, well, let's look at the data, right? So we're actually going to look at the data and the feedback and use all that information. And I think Steve also said, if you don't do anything with all the data you collect, it's just a piece of paper on your desk. And think about the message that says. I say, hey, Caroline, it really matters what you think, so tell me. And then you just don't do anything with that info. That's worse. If you're not going to do anything with the data that you collect, don't even ask for it, in my opinion. And then back to what Paul was saying about, asking people on site for feedback. I read a study, I think it said 1 out of 26 people will actually tell you why they're upset or what their complaint is. So you may have, 26 people that walk out your door and never come back because they had some sort of bad experience that day. And they just didn't tell you because that's not in the human nature. Not the one person always will. But if you're asking, you're going to prompt that. So you can save a lot of memberships who may have had a random one-off bad experience for whatever reason. And when you ask them, it gives them a chance. Again, you can solve that problem, or maybe it's just great feedback, which is fine. But if it's a problem, then you actually have that data to act on it. So, outside of, again, the COVID specific protocols, the great clubs are they're personalizing experiences, and they're going out of their way to make it the best experience possible. And the bad clubs aren't.
Okay. Yeah. Really good points. And I guess, again, it's nice to hear the data perspective on it, because that's what we obviously do have access to at the moment. Over to you, Paul, on this one.
Yeah, I was going to say that, I'm talking to clients this week. We've only obviously just opened in the UK 5 days. I think we've been open. I'm getting feedback on visit volume and things like that. And I've got one client who's only had 25% of their customers return. I've had another one who's got 68% return. And they seem to be all doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And in our group call where we were discussing this, I did point out to them that customers have a life outside of the fitness environment that they also have to take care of. And so while us as a panel all sit here going, what are they doing to do with their fitness? They have other parts to their lives. We're a share or a part of their life. For a lot of them, we're not their whole life. And like today, it's the hottest day of the year in the UK today. I bet any gyms that are open are going to be quiet, because this might be summer for us today. And I think, there are a lot of operators. One of the things I commented to someone earlier this week was, there's a very big difference between putting hazard tape around your CV and equipment to make a distance and putting like little flags and bunting around it to do the same job. And I said, you see a lot of operators who come from a very operational perspective. It's all about what you can't do. You must stay 2 meters apart. You must do this. So it becomes very officious. Whereas you can actually say, thank you for staying 2 meters apart. Thank you for, whereas you see in, where I've been visiting a few clubs, you're seeing some, it's almost like the exercise police. And in others, it's almost the Ronald McDonald version of a clown going, oh, good to see you. You will wipe down the equipment, won't you? And because it's done in a friendly way, you feel obliged to do it. Where when someone says, don't forget, you need to clean your equipment, you're like, yeah, all right. and I think that's where some of the operators are missing a trick with their experience. They're so, and not that they shouldn't be, so COVID aware. They've gone up one end of a spectrum in terms of enforcement and thought that they have to be almost police-like to do it, rather than thinking, how do I get someone to wipe down the equipment? Well, the first thing I do is I see someone do it and I say it really loudly, Chris, it was great to see you clean that equipment. Thank you. Because then other people go, well, I want that compliment, and they'll do the same. You get that ripple effect.
Yeah, really good point. And I think it's interesting as well. I guess COVID has put such a curveball into things that people don't really know how to act with other people at times in certain social situations. So you're riddled with fear when you're like interacting with other people, and especially when someone's coming into your studio. It's about, I guess, pitching your tone right to make them feel comfortable and safe and secure.
Yeah.
I might go to you next, Steve. I see you have a point on this.
Yeah, I wanted to tail off of some really good stuff that's happening. You know, Paul, you know, my comment was really tailing off of you. I think the things that I'm seeing right now, and I've got perspective in Japan, where a lot of my customers are right now, that never closed. Japan is a country of rule followers, and so there might be some alignment there. If you set a clear guideline and expectation, I know for us in the States that would be amazing. They actually, for the most part, will follow that and adhere to that. But what I'm seeing is the operators who are thriving and doing well. In fact, some are doing 160, 140%. I was just in Chicago 2 days ago. Enrollments are year over year huge. Now, utilization is a little bit lower, but they are thriving and people are grateful. It's communication, right? And it goes back, sorry for being a broken record, but it goes back to purpose and awareness. You know, some who are communicating very well to their customers, they're taking the time and they're investing their resources into ensuring they know who their customers are. Chris, you pointed this out, right? We're all, I hesitate to use the word expert, but we're all seasoned and good at what we do, and certainly have some good knowledge about process and procedures. But the vast majority of fitness professionals in the world don't even come from fitness, let alone have that competency. So the only way that they can gain that and sound like Paul just did and be able to have that perspective of instead of fear and punitive action, it's more about rewarding and enhancing like a good coach typically does. Cueing, that's our language. That comes from having a game plan. That comes from sitting down and communicating that game plan to our teams, having the right teams even there to receive and fulfill that game plan, and then practicing that. And that takes time, that takes competency, that takes thought, and that takes resources. And I've seen the groups, organizations, individuals, and brands that have done that. Even if the message is a little off, it's still conveying a greater sense of trust and compassion. So members who are coming back are kind of giving people a little edge to make mistakes. Chris, like you said, treat it like a restaurant. Well, I've gone to restaurants and the day it opens, and I'm not always expecting it to be 5-star. I'm okay with a couple of bumps in the road as long as it feels like they're putting in their, you know, their time and their effort, and the steak's not too cold. But on the other end, though, what I'm seeing is the customers or the brands who are not communicating, have not put in that time, who have not done that. It shows. You know, I'm a wrestler by background, and you can't fake. When you're on the mat, you either did the work in the room or you didn't. And it's going to highlight when you step out there by yourself. And I see a lot of these brands, they're that way. And unfortunately, they're relying on their older systems of just opening up the door, burying their head, putting on a few spray bottles, and hoping that it's all going to work out and this COVID thing's going to pass. So it comes back to communication, preparation, and really enacting that.
Cool, yeah. Thanks for that, Steve. Yeah, communication and being prepared is obviously key at a time like this. And I know it's been touched on already, the importance of transparency. Emma, what about you? What are you seeing people do well and not so well during this time?
Right, so I just want to lift the conversation a little bit for a second, just to bring attention, and thank you, Will Brett, and I think you passed this on to me. There's a fantastic report, Piper and Sandler, Understanding Armageddon. So if you haven't seen that, it gives you a really good, it was a real-time data done by all the venture capitalists basically in New York City. Basically looked at the industry and showed the financial impact, the economic impact on each of the sectors, everything from luxury right down to budget. So I just want to throw that in there because it's a great resource. Secondly, health has never been more important. So I just think as we reopen, think about, guys, this is a bigger conversation than am I going to a club once or twice or 3 times a week? This is about your health. My parents both came from medical community, and 70, 80% of people who end up in accident and emergency who die are overweight, they're unhealthy, they have underlying health issues because they have made ill life choices, or that's been their environment. So I just want to make that point. We all talk in the industry, we've done such a poor job of marketing fitness as an actual solution. And look, we were the last to get on stimulus packages here in the US. We've had to beg our way onto all sorts of things, like it's ridiculous. So I just think everyone needs to think of a broader thing, and it doesn't need to be scary medical. It needs to be, guys, you need this to be a fully functioning, contributing human being. So just, can we lift the level? Now, COVID has done two things. It has accentuated our strengths and it has exploited our weaknesses. And where we've had a tribe, we've been able to lead into it. Where we haven't had a tribe, we're going, shit, there's no one listening and we've got nothing to tell them. So we have been exploited. So what I'm seeing is the boutiques and the small gyms and the very connected gyms have come back strong because they've got this relationship. People who just have a membership and they've got 10,000 members and they don't really know them, they're not coming back. So when I look to our friends in Asia, and I look to our friends in Europe who've been open for a while, some of them have just been closed down again in Belgium, I know. But, you see there's a big start if people have that community. There's a slow start if they don't. Okay, so just that being said, if this is an opportunity for us to turn over every single touch point in our business and make a mindful decision if it serves us or not. And we should all be doing this every 6 months anyway, but especially now. Okay, turn everything over. Does it serve? Turn it off. Put the resources over here. Turn that off. Tweak this. Ask the members. Tweak that. Make them a part of the solution. And I was just looking at the chat and the questions have been, should we do a video? Should we get testimonials? Yes, yes, yes. Whatever it's going to do to make people feel good. Now, here's what we're doing. Show safety, but sell joy. You've got to sell people hope. They've got to want to come back to the gym because it's going to give them that piece of their self that they've forgotten. Okay, we've all lost ourselves in this. We've had some of the most horrific days. I've lost my rag like I've never seen before. I've become a horrible human being. And then I sort of thought, right, we've got to get forward and help people get out of this. So we've never had this moment. And then my last comment would be the new club, I believe, is pulling the best of the categories. Okay, so the budgets give fantastic value for money. The boutiques have given us experience. The clubs have given us membership and variety. What does your new offering look like? And we're in the lifestyle game now, guys. We're not competing against each other. You're competing against Amazon, Lululemon, who just bought Mirror. You're competing against everyone who has an audience, and especially people who have deep pockets, because they're looking at people going, people are going to pay a lot for health and wellness. Okay, so they're all coming into our space. So my favorite club model right now is boutique approach to fitness programming. Is it on trend? Is it scientifically backed? Is it awesome? Is it cool? And then am I digitally enabled? Do I know what all my members are doing because I can track the data, whether it's a wristband, whether I know what they're doing, whether I've got some sort of recognition technology, am I using AI? Like, this is the new world, guys. And if we don't do it, trust me, other industries are beginning to pile in, and they will. Thank you.
Brilliant. Wow. So many points there. I hope some of the attendees are taking notes. I was trying to scroll down a few of your points there, Emma. Really, really powerful and impactful lines. There was one you had, show safety, but spread joy, share joy.
Sell joy. I mean, show joy. I mean, people want a positive feeling. I want to be pulled into my positive future self. I don't want to be reminded of the shit that I've left at home and an unsafe club and germs everywhere. I mean, we are being conditioned to think that we're not human anymore. And that is the biggest disaster right here. Yes, we've got to be safe, but don't forget we're social. We are going to come back. We are going to have live experiences. We are going to stand and kiss and have sex and all those good things again, because there's a lot of people pushing that that's not going to happen. You know, we are not going to be just like, hello, gorgeous baby. Oh.
Brilliant. Thanks, Emma.
Emma wants you to pipe in the baby smell. Yeah.
Thanks so much. There's so much that everyone has touched on so far that I will go back to, but I just want to go over to you, Barry. I know Shay is busy there with the little baby, but for you and member experience, there's obviously all of those different elements that we spoke about, but how would you boil it down? What are these key elements that you think people are doing well at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, Emma, completely agree with you. Always speaks our language. We have COVID right now. And to your point on how we're communicating fitness to everybody, we just learned today how essential it is for us to be moving every single day to make sure that this doesn't progress.
Makes a huge difference in your recovery, as well as strengthening your immune system so that you don't catch it. Obviously, we're super fit and we work out all the time, but you know, whatever. But it is really, really important, and it's going to become even more important.
Right. But to answer the question, to paint a broad spectrum, we're seeing some gym owners that are literally doing the ostrich thing and putting their head in the sand and hoping that everything just eventually goes back to normal, and hope that if they open their doors, everybody's just going to come show up. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we're seeing some really incredible initiative from people. They're taking the time to educate themselves. These are things that have been said already. They're not being reactionary to what's going on. And I think one thing that hasn't been said yet that we're seeing from incredibly successful studio owners right now is that they are stepping up as leaders. Yes. Whether they feel prepared to do so themselves or not, they're showing up for their clients, for their members, and for their team in a way that like lights a torch for them and shows them this is the path forward. I'm not entirely convinced if this is the right way, but I've done all the work and this is the way that we're going together. And that kind of attitude and energy just brings so much more confidence and assurance within the community that you have.
Right. Some of the most successful clients that we have are really focused on innovation and being creative, and they're not afraid to let go of what worked in the past and look outside the industry and look at other leaders to see like what is going to work for them. And so they're getting really, the two people I'm thinking in particular are excited that they feel like they're back to when they first launched their business.
Spirits lit on fire.
Yeah. So they're finding, you know, we have studio owners that are like, I am not just a club or a gym or a boutique fitness. I am an Amazon fulfillment center. I am a Hollywood recording studio. And they're finding new ways to bring in new revenue streams that are not just a Band-Aid. These are going to stick with them moving forward. And again, they didn't just do it, you know, in a reactive way. They sat back, they thought, okay, let me think about what's best for myself as a business owner, what's best for my team, what's best for my clients in my community right now. I'm going to put the work in and I'm going to make sure that I do it right to the best of my ability. I'm not just going to throw up my programming on IG Live, which was like the biggest mistake. You know, I'm going to sit back, I'm going to do the right thing so that, because this isn't, you know, a sprint, it's a marathon. And all we're seeing is like a hyper,
hamster wheel.
Well, what I'm going to say, a word for really fast. I have mom brain. But we're seeing, you know, the evolution of fitness, like in like hyper speed, basically. We were all going to get to this place eventually. We just have to do it really fast. And the people that are doing it well are the ones that are keeping their heads on and taking a little bit of time to breathe and make the best decision for themselves and their business.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And I think there's also a number of things you touched on there, but one of the words that kind of resonated with me was this idea of innovation and evolution. And I know we've all touched a little bit on trends that are emerging, and I do want to leave time for some questions at the end, but as quickly as we can, if we could zoom around everyone that's on the panel. If when I'm talking about trends emerging that could change member experience, what kind of things are coming to mind, Chris?
You know, outdoor and virtual, I think, are the two most obvious. Like, for example, in California, clubs opened and then they re-shut down within a month, but they did allow people to move outside. So I just think, and with that trend, it's and I think you guys just mentioned it, it's doing it well and doing it right. Because as everybody starts to do it, the ones that are really, you know, and I think it's things like microphones, lighting, sound, using the right technology. You can't just move your spin bikes outside and pedal behind your studio. It's the guys that are, you know, ordering pop-up tents and putting misters in and really going out of your way to make sure that that outdoor experience is done well and virtual. And I do think that there will be a group of people that stays with that. So even when your clubs are open and want to get back inside, they're going to be like, I really like this outdoor thing. Probably more so in California than Scotland, weather-wise.
Maybe not Arizona.
Yeah, maybe not Arizona, right? But I think it's just a matter of doing those things, doing the research, taking time, and really taking pride in it and doing it well. Because since everybody's currently doing it, the ones that really do it well and create the great experience and make it professional feeling are the ones that are going to be the most successful.
Brilliant answer. Thank you, Chris. Paul, trends emerging. How would you give me a quick one on that?
Okay, I would say watch where the money's going. And by that, I mean, we've just seen Gold's Gym, who are a client of mine, go up for sale for 100 million. And we've also seen Lululemon, as Emma mentioned, buy Mirror for 500 million. And now that tells me if the money's going online and through digital, that's going to drag the industry in that direction. And it's not that the bricks and mortar operators can instantly jump across, but they should be aware of the quality of what's going on, because I've been trying a number of different online programs. I've tried Peloton, I've tried the Les Mills On Demand. There are elements of things that Peloton do where I've mapped out in one 60-minute session, they use 30 different behavioral cues to build a sense of engagement, sense of community, and a sense of achievement that other platforms are just nowhere near.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it and you go, how come no one else is spotting this and going, we're just going to put our traditional content up there and you're going to love it? And people are going, doesn't engage me. So I think the trend is good or bad, well, good, really high quality content. But I think also the trend will be share of customer. So I might have a health club membership, a Peloton membership, and I might have something else as well. And if you say to me, why don't you do spinning in the club? Because I don't want to. I like doing my Peloton class. I think that's what we're going to see, that share of customer.
Okay, brilliant. And then quickly, I'd say we have one more minute to this before we go on to questions. But Emma, what about you for trends?
So there's a blending of the industry. So everything's becoming lifestyle. Everyone's racing to have a food conversation, an exercise conversation, a mindfulness conversation. So that's all happening. I'd say right now is a temporary, clunky phase in our development as we hybridize. So pretty soon, think about how we eat food, think about how we shop. All these things are already at the moment. Sometimes it's live, sometimes it's virtual. It's all going to become one. And then I think Paul's subscription model is ultimately going to be fed into him so he gets exactly what he wants without the clunkiness of having to subscribe 9,000 times, fill out his details, stupid forms all day long. All of that's going to be pulled in and automated. I think the good will scale, the bad will fail. Absolutely. This is going to turn anyone who's not running a good, solid business is not going to survive. And I think in the end, the market is discerning. They want to know what your why is. And if it doesn't ring true, they're going to go and find someone who does have good intention and that they can see themselves as a part of in being a better human being. Those would be my predictions.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, Steve?
Yeah, there's 3 brands that we're co-building right now, 2 in the States and then 1 in Japan. And I'll say in the next 5 years, I'll call it immersive experiences is going to be a trend that we're going to see.
Okay.
And I think it's going to come from the struggle that Paul and Emma have rightly put out there. Even though things, like the digital experience are not necessarily new, but the rush to it and the impotence to actually start chasing that lead dog is new for the fitness industry that's reluctant to kind of jump onto trends. But immersive experiences inside, and maybe even possibly outside, and then automation. Automation is going to take a whole new level. I mean, you put in, whether it's AI backed, machine learning, whatever it's going to be, but smart, purposeful automations and immersive experiences are something we're going to see, and money is definitely flowing into that.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Steve. And then finally, Shay and Barry, and I don't have your baby's name, but is there anything else that you could add to the trends here?
Her name's Nova, and everyone has said it beautifully. I think for us, immersive experiences is top on the list as well, whether that's in the studio or online, and really thinking about how you can create that experience online. Tell you one quick tip: it's not flashing the strobes in your studio while you're recording into the person's house. That doesn't work. But if you think about any of the things that we've recently seen as novelty have now become necessity. Pop-ups were a novelty, AI is a novelty, gamification of class is a novelty, and I think we're going to start seeing more of that move to the forefront and become a necessity as in the coming months and years.
And an increasing focus on mental health. I
Yeah.
think that's definitely come to the forefront through all of this as well. So how can we make that a focus of our offering, or something diversified?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I guess we know people are going to be spending more money and more time on their health and wellness. So how do you capitalize on this opportunity as well? So I'm going to really quickly go through some of the questions. First, from Zeal Performance, what company did you say does behavioral cues really well? Is it Peloton? I think that's directed towards you and Paul.
Peloton.
Peloton, great stuff.
Yeah.
Period.
Thank you.
But you have to know what you're looking for to see it. Otherwise, it's, the quality of the content, the programming. You look at some of the Les Mills content that's out there, beautifully filmed, well structured, great content. Doesn't have any of the behavioural cues. None of them. None of the things I'd be looking for as a psychologist if I wanted to build engagement and community.
Okay. Jill is asking, we love the boutique approach to programming. What are a couple of steps we can take to lean into that?
That's not me.
Me or to the Shay and those guys. Yeah, look, you have to see what's trending. I mean, my favourite business model right now would be Style Studios Fitness. It's in the Midwest. They've just opened. They've got 4 studios. They've got Strength. Strength's the #1 performer right now. That is pulling it in. And when we go back to the gyms, that's the sexy category. I haven't got my pull-up bar. I haven't been able to squat. I haven't been able to swing my kettlebell. It's the equipment that's holding the sex factor for that right now. So, but then we know that's cool. We know mind body's trending. We know that aerobic-y type things is another one. So they've gone back and just chosen best in category. And that's what every club on the planet should be doing right now, throwing out all the crap that doesn't work, starting again and bringing in what's trending. And how do you know what's trending? You can have an average instructor and there's people are lining up at the door. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got to get beyond. The whole model is not working. We can't pay our instructors. They're not making enough because they're not pulling enough. We're not doing a good job with the marketing. So get on trend would be my first thing, and then get very good at it. Paul's talking about the top end where you get right through to behavioural cues, get it programmed right, get the experience right. And it's always part science, part art. It's all of that. And if you don't have someone who doesn't know what they're doing, you need to hire someone. Content is king, and it's going to become more important now that we can eyeball anything on the planet. I mean, I can train with Thor, I can train with Kayla, I can train with, anyone on the planet. So the level has to lift.
Okay, brilliant. Guys, I'm really sorry, but I think that's going to bring us to the end of today's session. It was a jam-packed panel session, guys. You all gave so many nuggets there. I'll definitely be rewatching myself. Now we will just give out the prizes, so a little virtual drum roll. So first, to the for Barry, Ennis and Shay Kostabi, your 1-hour consult is going to go to Leo Lord. So Leo, I will take note of your name and your email, and we'll get in touch regarding that consult. So really, really exciting. Thank you so much, Shay and Barry, for that one. And Emma Barry's new book, Building a Badass Boutique. There we go. There's the merch. That is going to Jill Drummond, who asked the question about boutique approach to all programming. So hopefully your answers are in there. But finally, thanks to all of our panelists, Chris, Shay and Barry, Paul, Steve, and Emma. Thank you so much for joining us today.